Yo, this is Devesh Boxing. Today, I'll be giving you guys some tips on how to win your first amateur fight. Now, I'm a fighter with over 30 amateur fights in Canada, and I've had plenty of experience and plenty of wins and losses to kind of understand what it is to have the nerves before a fight and kind of understand what it is to like combat the stress about, yo, am I gonna win this amateur fight? Am I gonna win my first one? And a lot of people ask me these questions like, yo, Devesh, like, how did you feel? How did you prepare for your first amateur fight? How do you even prepare for your next amateur fight? And I have 5 tips for you guys to kind of help you guys win your first amateur fight. And these tips kind of help me kind of win my first one. So the first tip I have for you guys is quite simple, and it's to spar at a different gym. The reason why you kind of want to spar at a different gym is kind of like you kind of put yourself in the environment of a fight. Because when you go to a different gym, you're kind of like fresh meat to the other guys, you know? You kind of go in there and everybody's kind of looking at you like, who are you? And they kind of like target you in a way. And that's kind of the feeling you're gonna have on fight night, like when you're against your opponent. The other guy has the same type of feeling towards you, you know, that you have towards him. They just want to knock you out. They want to beat you in this fight in front of your girlfriend, your family, your friends, and it's like it is quite how you say it's quite uh barbaric in a way, but it kind of gets you prepared for the stress and the nerves that you're gonna feel on fight night. For one, to spar a different gym, and also it gets you ready in a way because it's like you're testing yourself against different people, and that's the most important because if you kind of always spar the same people from your gym, let's say you have a pretty big competition team, you're never going to get used to what's on the outside. And at the end of the day, you're not going to be fighting the guys that are at your gym during these tournaments or during these gala fights. You're going to be fighting guys from different gyms. So you kind of already want to be prepared for that in the first place. So that's first and foremost. Now, my second tip here is to always spar at your fighting weight. Now, what I mean by that is kind of like you already want to be like in your fight weight cut shape. For example, I used to fight at around 125 pounds, 121 pounds, 132 pounds, and 119 pounds. So these are my 4 weight classes that I've had at least a fight in. And I always made sure to kind of fight at my fight weight. And it kind of always helped me because I kind of got used to how my body felt, cardio wise, fitness wise, boxing wise. And that's important because if you kind of, let's say you spar at 140 pounds, but your fight's at 125 pounds, but you've never really like sparred the whole camp at 125 pounds, when you're gonna weight cut and you're kind of like depleting yourself and stuff like that, your whole body kind of just is not used to that. It's kind of not normal for the body to fight like after cutting 15 pounds. So I like to kind of already be in my fight shape and cut like let's say 2-3 pounds, let's say, especially in amateur boxing, and kind of already have the body used to it. Because one of the mistakes I've done, and this kind of happened near the tail end of my amateur career, where I kind of just cut 15, 20 pounds the night before, and it was very unhealthy. But I kind of did it because I got kind of complacent and lazy about kind of every aspect of boxing. And you shouldn't be because it's a fight at the end of the day, and you kind of want to be in your fight weight and already be the most ready possible because the other guy is training extremely hard and you're out here just messing about a little bit. So that's honestly my second tip, where I want you guys to spar at your fight weight to kind of get used to the feeling of how you're gonna feel on fight night. Now I'm gonna give you guys a bonus tip, and this kind of goes um hand in hand. Like this kind of works for I guess in Canadian amateur boxing because I'm not too sure if this kind of happens in other countries. But if you could, you could definitely do a demo fight before having your first amateur fight, and that kind of teaches you and kind of gets you used to the real nerves of fight night without actually taking the consequences of the real fight, a win or a loss. Now, if you guys don't know what a demo fight is, it's kind of like fighting. It's like you're fighting in front of people at an event, exactly the same thing as an amateur fight, but there's no winners or loser, and you're fighting in 16-ounce gloves. Now, I have done this before. I've done this twice. One time it was unwilling because the other person didn't want to fight me at a fight. And this first time that I did it was my second amateur fight. And we kind of went against a guy that was 20 pounds over me. And we wanted to kind of test myself out in a way and try a different type of nerves. And the event itself was kind of a big event. So I did have some nerves. So that could be a possibility for your first amateur fight to kind of get used to what it is to have a fight night and stuff like that. Like that, you're not going in there like out the blue because you don't want to go there out the blue and not know what's up. You know what I'm saying? Now, my third tip that I want to give is to be as physically in shape as possible because you don't want to be losing your amateur fight because you're not in shape. That is almost like the worst thing that can happen to you. You train so hard, you train so many hours, you had so much time with the coaches dedicate so much time to you, and you just gassed out. And that's the worst thing that can happen to you, honestly speaking. And I honestly like to say that to be as physically in shape as possible is one thing, but you want to be in boxing physical shape. Now, what I mean by that is like you go outside and you go for these runs, these sprints, and you just because amateur boxing is a sprint. It's not a marathon, it's a sprint. And you just go, and you kind of train that part of your training as hard as you can correctly. When you hit the bag, you do the rounds of bag the same way you would fight. You do your pad work the same way you would fight. You do your shadow box the same way you would fight. Because a lot of people, when they train, yes, they're in shape. Yes, they can do 12 rounds. Yes, they can do 15 rounds, whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, your amateur fight is 3 rounds and it's a sprint. Almost, if you got your first fight, it's going to be 2-minute rounds. So you got to really go quick, quick, quick. So you already want to practice the way you want to fight. The way you practice on the bag, the way you practice shadow boxing, the way you practice on the pads, the way you spar, the whole thing, it's gonna come back to you in a fight. A lot of people tell me like, oh, like you know what, like when I fight, it won't be like that. The way you train is the way you fight. So I highly advise you guys to be as physically in shape as possible and train the way that you fight. Okay. Now, my fourth tip would be to keep it simple during your first amateur fight and to do a lot of in and out defense. Now, the reason why I like to say this is because you don't want to overcomplicate things on your first amateur fight. Like you don't want to come in and you don't want to like just come in like two trains like colliding with each other and just like just fight. You know, you kind of want to be clean with it and you kind of want to just like control the fight and stuff like that. You know, you want to kind of feel it out a little bit, okay? There's a lot of people in their first amateur fight, they kind of just go in there like I'm just gonna knock the guy out. I'm gonna knock him out with my first punch, and it can happen. For example, my first amateur fight, it ended in 30 seconds, and it was anticlimactic, but it happens. And I had a few of my fighters that won their fight in the first after throwing one punch in the first 10 seconds, and they won the fight, and it's like they knocked them out. It happens. But you gotta understand that these are like crazy scenarios that happen. It won't always happen. So most of the time, you want to keep it simple for one, and you want to do a lot of in and out defense. Now, what I mean by in and out defense is like you want to secure your battles because in a boxing round, it won't always be like fight, 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 fight because or else you guys would have kind of freakish cardio a little bit. But there's like kind of pauses where you guys are kind of like moving away from the ropes, going forward, whatever the case may be. And it's like there's little pauses where you guys kind of like move around and kind of like at some point you guys re-engage in the fight, and you want to win as many of those little re-engagements, those little battles, to win the fight. And the in and out defense comes into play where it's like I hit you and I get out quick and I secure my points, because you kind of want to make it obvious to the judges that you were the first one in and you were the last one out, and I secured my points and this is clean. So you want to make it obvious to the judges, because the judges, when they see like two guys just fighting and scrambling and it's just like punches going at it, it's very hard to tell, and it's totally normal. And then that's when all the robberies and the bad decisions kind of happen. When fights like that happen, it's like you can't even see properly what's going on, and it's like, damn, it's done. So that's my fourth tip. And my final tip that I got is to ignore all the external noise. You don't want to have people kind of doubting you and stuff like that and second guessing yourself, because that's where all the stress and all the nerves will kind of come in. It'll build up during fight night. So it can come from anybody. It can come from your friends. It can come from your girlfriend. It can come from your parents. It can come from anybody. But at the end of the day, if you're getting into the ring, like you have a week left to your fight, you should not really listen to those people if you truly believe in yourself. If you believe in your training, if you believe in yourself, you shouldn't listen to that external noise, because those people were not there when you were training. Those people were not there anytime, honestly. Okay. And honestly, the only people you should listen to, and the only people you should listen to, honestly, is your coaches and the people really close to you that see you every day and like see the damages like after your trainings and stuff like that. Those people you can listen to, but you shouldn't listen to the people that kind of just see it for face value. And you should be confident in yourself, and you should really take care and of the people around you in this way, because when you go for your first fight, a lot of people's true colors will come out, and that's when you'll truly know who who's real and who's not. So yeah, this is my 5 tips on how to win your first amateur fight and how to combat kind of the stress of it all. And this will help you win and or just do your first amateur fight correctly. Okay. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, please like, please subscribe, and go check out thevegeboxing.com for more tips and tricks. That's me out.